Hello and welcome to Badger Talks Quick Picks, which bring exciting happenings, resources, and talent from your UW flagship campus to the people of Wisconsin and beyond. I'm Megan Westerman from Chesapeake, Virginia. I'm a second-year Master's in Public Affairs student at the Follette School of Public Affairs, and I'm focused on technology policy. I'm pleased to introduce Susan Webb Yackee, who will speak on seeking civility during an era of polarization. Talking about the issues that impact your community and our state can be hard. It doesn't have to be. Join Dr. Yackee as she discusses the Follette School of Public Affairs Main Street Agenda project. In this innovative approach to building and practicing the skill of civil dialogue, the Follette School will hold in-person community conversations around the state that will give Wisconsin residents opportunities to find common ground on issues that matter to them and their communities. Ultimately, the goal of the events will be to help participants learn strategies to have respectful conversations with people of differing views. Dr. Yackee is a professor of public affairs and director of the Follette School of Public Affairs at UW-Madison. A leading scholar in the study of bureaucracy and public administration, her research and teaching interests include the U.S. public policymaking process, public management, regulation, health policy, and interest group politics. Yackee is an elected member of the National Academy of Public Administration and a public member of the Administrative Conference of the United States. Please welcome Susan Webb Yackee.
Megan, thank you so much for that introduction. That's so kind of you. And I just want to say and acknowledge Megan's wonderful work as my research assistant this past year, as well as working on our Main Street Agenda project this year. So Megan, thank you on behalf of La Follette. So hi, everybody. I'm Susan Yackee. I'm the director of the La Follette School of Public Affairs, and where I also serve as a professor. I'm delighted to chat with you about seeking civility in an era of polarization. So first of all, I want to provide some context on what the La Follette School is and what we do. So the La Follette School of Public Affairs at UW-Madison is one of the top public policy schools in the world. A key part of our mission is teaching. We have a very popular graduate training program where we train masters in public affairs students as well as masters in international public affairs students. And those students go on to take jobs all across the different sectors, the public sector, the nonprofit sector, as well as the private sector. And a lot of them hold and have major roles in government in the United States. We also have a huge and growing undergraduate training program. We've relatively recently launched 2 undergraduate certificates, one in public policy and one in health policy, and they're growing like gangbusters, and it's really capturing a lot of student interest at UW-Madison in public policy. Part of our mission is also research, so faculty research, doing and engaging in important public policy problems, as well as outreach. So how do we translate some of that faculty research and really practice the Wisconsin idea? So spreading that knowledge across our state, across our country, and across our world. So our mission at the La Follette School is to train leaders and conduct research to inspire evidence-based policymaking and to advance the public good. And nowhere is that mission more put to the test than recent trends in politics and political discourse. In fact, that's just made our work so much harder. I mean, how do we get to evidence-based policymaking and advancing the public good if people can't sit down and talk to each other anymore? Everybody that's listening to this talk understands that in the United States, we're pretty darn polarized. We've got the left side of the aisle and the right side of the aisle. And it seems that today, never the two sides should meet. In fact, a lot of us live in echo chambers where the media that we consume, the people that go to our church, the people that we interact with at work and our neighborhoods are all kind of like us in terms of our partisan identification. And that's the trend nationwide. In fact, 60% of Americans today find that political conversations are stressful. Less than a third trust each other, and trust in our political institutions is at an all-time low. Now, these are real challenges for a public policy school like the La Follette School. So what can we do about it? So one of the ways that we're trying to address some of these challenges of polarization, is in our 2024 Main Street Agenda project. And I want to acknowledge that we're doing this work in partnership with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel and Wisconsin Public Radio. So what is the Main Street Agenda project for 2024? The idea behind Main Street is to have some community conversations and perspectives about the issues that matter most in advance of the November 2024 election, trying to recenter things on public policy and discourse. We're going to try to do so in three different ways. You heard Megan in the intro talk most about our community conversations, and that's what I'll talk most about today, too. We're going to do 4 community conversation events across Wisconsin. But I also want to mention our work within Main Street on town halls, 2 different events there, as well as our policy perspective op-eds piece of the Main Street agenda. All right, so what are the Main Street Agenda community conversations? So, the Main Street Agenda community conversations are round table discussions that are going to be used to promote civil dialogue all across Wisconsin. And in fact, we're going to have 4 different events starting pretty soon, actually, this week in Milwaukee on September 18th, a large event on September 25th in Green Bay, an event in Eau Claire on October 2nd, and an event here in Madison on October 9th. So these roundtable conversations are just that citizens, Wisconsinites across the political aisle, sitting down to have facilitated conversations about the public policy issues that matter to them. And the facilitators in this case are going to be our trained, nonpartisan faculty, staff, students from the Follette School. So we're really excited about playing this role and getting people talking to each other, really sitting down, breaking bread, and having conversations about the public policy issues that matter, with the hope of no screaming and no outrageous behavior. Well, let's show everybody that we can still do this in Wisconsin. Participants that come to the events are going to have a complimentary dinner on the Follett, as well as a token of $50 to acknowledge any transportation or childcare costs that they may have getting to the events. So, a little bit more about those community conversations. Again, we're going to host a wide range of community participants from across the aisle. And that's really the idea here, is to bring people together that might not normally bump into each other and talk about the issues that matter. To do so, we are going to be using a wonderful tool here at UW-Madison that is being led by our UW-Madison Survey Center. And that is the Wisconsin Says survey. And we're going to use the Wisconsin survey to launch these conversations. So, what is Wisconsin Says? Again, UW Survey Center has established Wisconsin Says. It's a panel survey of 3,500 Wisconsinites. So 3,500 Wisconsinites are a representative picture of Wisconsin. So people all across the state have agreed to participate in this survey and on a roughly monthly basis share their views on all sorts of topics with faculty members and other researchers and students at UW-Madison. So we have a better picture of Wisconsin. And some of the views that they've been sharing are in their public policy perspectives and views. And we're going to use that knowledge of what this representative group of Wisconsinites say about the issues of our times to help guide our conversations. I'll note here that there's been relatively few previous studies of the effectiveness of this kind of community conversation. Do they really work? How do they work? When do they work? And like all of our La Follette School outreach activities, there'll be a small evaluation mechanism attached here as well. So across the events, we're hoping that our efforts will yield new important information for researchers who are interested in studying polarization, as well as importantly, community organizations that want to hold events like this. How could they structure them so that they could be the most effective events and that they could be? I'll note that we are not looking to change anybody's views, and we're not looking to change anyone's values in these conversations. We are here to have people from across the political aisle share their perspective, to be heard and to be heard by others. And that is a real step in the policymaking process. We've got to have these community conversations about the policy issues of our times in order to make change on the policy issues of our times. We're thrilled at the La Follette School to be hosting this work. A lot of time and effort have gone into them, and we're very excited to be interacting with communities all across Wisconsin. So I mentioned there were a couple other components of Main Street Agenda. So in addition to those 4 conversation events, we're also holding 2 town halls where faculty members will be coming and sharing some of their policy relevant research and expertise on several predetermined topics. So the first one was actually held last week in La Crosse on September 11th. That was on healthcare and climate change. And I'll mention here that we did that event in partnership with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Another event that we're doing, another town hall that we are doing in October in partnership with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, is on inflation and the economy, and that will be held in Milwaukee on October 15th. Again, featuring our faculty, research, and expertise in those particular areas. Finally, the last component of Main Street Agenda started in January of 2024, where we've been placing op-eds in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel written by some of our Follette School faculty, and again, using that Wisconsin's data to inform our op-eds. So what does a representative sample of Wisconsinites feel about different public policy issues, and how can our faculty members contextualize those issues through their research expertise? So here in the top corner, you can see my colleague, Assistant Professor Mario Barnes, writing in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel about domestic abuse and gun violence. Here's another example of one of these op-eds. We've done 10 of them so far. This one is on climate change and the importance of climate change action. According to the Wisconsin survey, both Republicans and Democrats would like to see that action. And this was co-authored by my assistant professor colleague, Morgan Edwards, as well as Zachary Thomas. And finally, just another representative snapshot. Professor Christine Durrance wrote about the opioid crisis in Wisconsin and tied that to some of the Wisconsin's data on the healthcare system and the real important concerns that Wisconsinites raise about our healthcare. So these are just Main Street is just a kind of a slice of the Follette School's work around civil dialogue. We want to do a whole bunch more work in the space because of its importance to society as well as to our purple state here in Wisconsin. For instance, we're poised at the moment to launch a new undergraduate program, which would be the first major in public policy within the universities of Wisconsin system. It would be the first of its kind major, but it also is going to be the first of its kind, at least to my knowledge, across the country, where a major in public policy offered by a public policy school would center the issue of civil dialogue as a core component of its curriculum. So we're very excited about that. That curriculum is going to advance knowledge and evidence and quantitative reasoning and analytics and communication skills, as well as civil dialogue. Finally, you can see below the Follette School has been serving as a platform to model civil dialogue by hosting a variety of different speakers. You can see in the bottom left here is myself last year with former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan talking about some of the issues of our times. Where in the bottom right corner is my colleague, Professor Greg Nemeth, who's a scholar of climate change, speaking with Ezra Klein, the New York Times journalist and opinion writer, about polarization, public policy, and the public good. Now, that talk took place in April of last year and had over 1,000 Wisconsinites in the audience. So now's my chance to say thank you. I hope that you enjoyed this Badger Talk. If you want more information, please take a look at the Follette School's website, which is listed here. And in particular, check out the Main Street Agenda project. If you're in the Milwaukee area coming up, we'd love to have you join us for our upcoming town hall. Thank you very much.